Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch.
Any of the wives ever wonder what it would be like to be the only wife and have Cody with that family unit all the time?
I think on the bad days, we all think about that.
I disagree with you, Cody.
I do too.
Totally
Mary, I
disagree
asked
with
you that question and you said yes.
No, you have not ever asked me that. I have never wished that it would just be you and me and Mariah.
Okay, so he is saying, yeah, on bad days, sometimes I wish that it was just me and, you know, like if he's having a bad day with Christine, he might think, oh, I wish it was just me and Mary or something. Or, wait, is what's happening right now, they might be hearing him saying, some days I wish it was just me and Robyn. Is that what they think he's saying? And then they're fighting against that by saying no. And from my understanding from the former member of the religious group that they're a part of, Christine Perrier, who was telling me about the messages and the dogma of this religion, is this notion of harmony. And in order to gain God's favor and to go to the good heavens, you not only have to be in a polygamous relationship, but there has to be harmony. And the idea of harmony, I think, is debated, but I think a lot of them would believe that you have to be at least very often, if not all the time, invested in each relationship for harmony to exist. You know, one of the elements of harmony is that you never are thinking about the relationships individually or taking refuge in one as opposed to others. Like there has to be harmony and balance at all times.
Never.
Not even for a second?
Never. Okay. Never, never.
There have been moments where I thought, boy, this would be a lot easier if Cody was just around full-time. Absolutely.
Right. Christine is saying, absolutely, I've thought that. Christine is the truth speaker, I think, in the family. I think I've said that before. And how bizarre would it be if Mary had never thought that? Had never thought, God, it'd just be easier if, it'd be nice if I just had more of my husband, right? So, yeah. And maybe particularly for the sister wives who have more kids who wish that they had more support.
Why we don't want to answer that is because this is a subject that that each couple keeps between themselves. We really don't talk about the subject even within our families.
My wives get to choose how many children they have. Yeah. Or, well, sorry, Mary.
Except me.
They get to choose when they're done having children.
I've given her a choice. She can choose.
She can still choose. But it was an intelligent question.
So I don't know what was happening there. It looked awkward. So to go beat by beat, they were talking about children, and he's saying, well, everyone is allowed to have as many kids as they want, which I wonder if that's actually true. I mean, I don't think that, I guess it's possible. But I don't imagine that the women are being actively forced, but there could be a lot of systems in place and a lot of influences in place to railroad them into having children. And I've talked about that before, more than they want to, but who knows? And then he catches himself and he says, well, except for Mary, because, she's struggled with having children. And then Robyn, out of nowhere, says, whatever, I offered her a surrogacy. She didn't say that specifically, but that's what she's referring to. So let's rewind that, but, well, let's rewind it.
Choose how many children they have. Yeah. Or, well, sorry, Mary.
Except me.
They get to choose when they're done having children.
I've given her a choice.
Yeah, and then the way that Mary and Cody react, they seemingly are looking at her like it's taking them a second to register what she's doing. It has that look to it where they think it's all fun and games, and then all of a sudden you get this out of context attack, and you look over and you're like, oh, you're joking. Oh, wait, you're not joking. It's because watch Cody's face.
She can choose.
She can still choose. But
I don't know. I'm probably reading into it, but the way that sounded to me is that Robyn was getting upset that Mary, because it was a pretty light moment, but maybe this is an ongoing resentment she has or something, but doesn't really, it doesn't cohere with at least my very limited understanding of what's happening in his family. But the way it looks to me is that in Robyn's mind, Mary gets too much sympathy for not having kids. Maybe she deserves some, but not as much as she gets, because Robyn herself offered to be a surrogate and she could have more kids. So why is she whining all the time? I'm really extending it, obviously, but that's just, so I'm just speculating based on very little information. And if that's true, then yikes.
Are you kidding me? So we go out on my birthday date. My birthday on my day. We're at the music store and he picks out this CD and I'm like, oh my gosh, he remembered. He's so sweet. And we get in the car and I'm like, oh, can we listen to my CD? And he's like, that's for Mary. Idiot.
Okay, so we're hearing a story. I don't need to summarize it. It is, she just described it. So on one hand, we could, I don't know, I could see a lot of possibilities. I could see if I knew all the details, I would agree with Christine's point of view and think that Cody was a total jerk face by doing that. You know, like if Christine was well known for that album and for him to confuse it with Mary's, you know, because it's an album. So there's that. Or he forgot. Or is this a situation where Christine is very sensitive to this sort of thing and overreacted? Given the context, you know, if Christine said, look, it was my day, my birthday, and the whole time he was talking about Mary, though, you know, that's different, right? What she's saying is that, or she said, you know, it was my day and there were a couple other things, and then he said the thing about the album and he forgot it was mine. He said it was for Mary, or he said it's Mary's, and that threw me over the edge. That's not what she's saying. She's saying it was my day, and from context, there's nothing. And then we bought a album, put it in, and I said, you know, can we play my album? And then he said, oh, that's for Mary. That's Mary's album. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I say it out loud, on one level, but I don't know. Like if I was on a date with my wife, and I mean I don't have other wives, but if I saw an album that was for a friend or something and I bought it, I just, you know, I wouldn't think of myself as a horrible husband, and that's not a horrific thing for Cody. And also just the way that Christine talks about it, you know, I wonder if Christine, it would make sense that it's a possibility if she comes from a family with a lot of kids that she feels like she was in competition, or she didn't feel like she got enough attention as a kid. I don't know. I'm guessing that none of y'all agree with me on this. I feel like this could be an exaggerate. It probably is. So I won't exaggerate. I'll try to be as accurate as possible. I feel like if I am saying anything even remotely negative about anybody except for Robyn and Cody, people disagree with me. And maybe everyone's right because they've watched the rest of it and they know the deal. So I don't know. But I'm not really seeing the transgression. I don't really understand. You know, doesn't mean it's not there, but I don't know.
Question? Okay, let's go on.
Okay, Sarah's asking, how would you react if one of your children came out to you? And I'm assuming this means came out as a homosexual. And you know, I've thought about this because the odds are, with as many children as we have, the odds are that we could have one or two. And I've really thought about this, and I don't think it would disrupt my world any.
Wow. I guess I was biased because that is surprising to me. And maybe they don't all agree. Christine seems to be having a reaction. We'll see what she says, if anything. But that's great. Well, depends on. I mean, it's better than what I thought. Let's just put it that way. And it's probably a lot better than a lot of the other people in her religious group. I mean, even among just Mormons in general. I don't know the average, but well, we can look it up. Let's see. Yeah, of course, sometimes the position of the leadership in a religious group is not reflective of the congregation, but the official stance is that they don't stand behind gay marriage. Yeah, I'm just going to take a guess and say that Janelle's statement here is pretty progressive. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's that time of year again. It's September, back to school, time to learn new things. And if you're a fan of this podcast, then I'm guessing you like to learn new things. But you might find that although you've learned a lot, you have a hard time applying this knowledge to better your life. This can be frustrating, you might know why you have a particular psychological issue, but you don't know how to use that knowledge to work on the issue. Well, that's where therapy comes in. A therapist can help you see how this knowledge applies to you specifically. And therapy also just gives you the time to focus on yourself outside of daily stressors. Well, one place you can find a therapist is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, it's definitely worth checking out BetterHelp. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I talked to one of my kids, and she goes, what if I chose to bring home a girlfriend? How you'd feel? She was just throwing that out there because she loves to be spontaneous.
And they like to chat.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, maybe it was that way, but I would wonder if I were a parent, and I don't know if I'd follow up with any kind of questions, but I would wonder if that was a question that was more relevant to them than they were letting on.
They
Exactly.
like to challenge us.
And this is what I said. I said, well, then you couldn't have her come play in your room. Because right now, boys aren't allowed in your room. And neither could girls be allowed in your room. So I think... So
her response, if you were dating another girl, is you couldn't play with her... Wait, what? Let me rewind.
One of my kids. And she goes, what if I chose to bring home a girlfriend? How you'd feel? She was just throwing that out there because she loves to be spontaneous.
And they like to chat us. They
Exactly.
like to challenge us.
And this is what I said. I said, well, then you couldn't have her come play in your room.
So maybe it was one of the kids, like one of the young kids were saying this, because if it was a 16-year-old, I'm forgetting how old her kid, I mean, she has at least one of the older kids, right? Aspen is the oldest. I'm forgetting how, she's the second oldest, so of the whole family. So yeah, I think she's graduating this year, going to college soon, right? So what am I getting at? Yeah, right. So it'd be different if a teenager. But anyway, so she's saying one of my kids said this, and so I said, well, then you can't have her in your room to play because of potential activity happening. Okay.
Because right now, boys aren't allowed in your room. And neither could girls be allowed in your room. So I think it'd be a really kind of a tough path for you to have a close relationship with somebody. I said, mind you, if this is a committed relationship, you better bring her over so I can meet her. If she's not right for you, though, I'm going to put up a fight, just like I would if you brought home a boy who wasn't right with you, too.
Wow. The journey that she took me on, the way it sounded in the beginning was a really passive way of communicating that she wasn't okay with same-sex relationships. But then that last bit sounds like she's totally fine. Or I'm just trying to think what she would say differently if she were more in line with the way I think. What if I brought a girlfriend home? Right, of course. If you're totally cool with it, you would say, well, if you had a girlfriend and you brought her over to the house, then I'd celebrate it in the same way that you brought anyone over. Or we would have the same rules as, given their courting dogma. But they've said they don't want to impose that way of life on the kids. They're just trying to attract the kids into that, but it's up to them. And it also makes me wonder, I hear hints that at least some of them, if not all of them, are thinking, I don't think all of our kids are made for polygamy. I don't know that, but at least in the edit. So the fact that either Christine doesn't have a sophisticated mind or she is against it and she can't say it because she doesn't want to say it, or she doesn't want to say it in front of the camera. So she has this really twisted way of this hypothetical where she's saying basically all negative things. Well, you wouldn't be able to play in your bed. You know, what if I came out as gay to you and I brought home a girlfriend? Well, you wouldn't be able to play with her in your room, and you can't have boys in your room. So I think that would really suck for you. Like, that's your response. Especially because it's, I mean, again, if it was a 5-year-old that was saying it, they might not even know what they're saying exactly. But anyway, and then she says, but if I didn't like him, then I would come down, or if I didn't like her, then I'd come down on her like I would if you brought a boy over and I didn't like him. But I will say that both Janelle and Christine have answered in a way that makes it seem like they're fine with it, which I should very much value, which I do. And that is unexpected and welcomed. I wonder how accepting they are in reality, though. I don't know. You probably know because there's 14 more seasons that I haven't watched beyond this. And by the way, I am vowing, I keep doing this. The show is interesting, so I keep wanting to yammer about different scenes, but I have recommitted myself to not commenting on every little scene and just sort of skimming more. So I apologize.
To answer this question honestly, I would be sad for a child that realized they were homosexual, because that's a hard life.
Agreed.
My heart would go out to them. I'd feel really sad on a level because they would face so many prejudices as well and so many challenges. It's not an easy life. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is whether or not their family loves them and accepts them.
We've determined that we will accept.
Okay, so also I think a good response from Robyn. Sometimes people who have prejudice will say, like, one of the things they used to say for people like me who were, considered mixed race, where you have a Japanese American father and a European American mother. A lot of people in the past would say that I was an abomination on God or something, but then that would be diluted and people would say, well, like if a white girl goes to her white parents and says, I love this Japanese guy. This didn't happen in my mom's family, but I would hear stuff like this around. And the white parents are like, well, we think it's totally fine, but I don't think that's a very good idea, because if you have kids with him, your kids are going to experience a lot of prejudice. And that makes me really sad. I mean, do you really want that in the world? So it's a veiled way of being absolutely prejudiced and discriminatory. So I don't know if that's what Robyn is exhibiting. If one of my kids came to me and said they were gay, I would be really sad, because life is going to really suck for them. And because that'll be, she didn't say this, but sometimes that will be the push of just like, you really should not be gay, because it's really going to be hard on you. It's like, what do I say? It's like light bigotry or diet bigotry, if you will. It's bigoted, but it's like, it's hidden or diluted or something. Or they're diluting themselves, because that's not what I think. Certainly that's something that I think, if a kid came to me and said that they were gay and wanted to know what I would think, I suppose, on the list of 100 things that I might say, if they really wanted to know what I had to say, further down on the list, that might be on there, but that certainly would be the first thing on there, right? And they're editing this. I don't know. I don't know why I'm just trying to. I should be celebrating that they're not saying they're not saying what I thought they'd say, which is good. But I think he's about to say that they're going to be cool with it.
Our children with whatever their relationship or their lifestyle is.
Wow, they really cut that short. We didn't hear from Mary, and I'm suspicious because I'm pretty sure that this show, the producers and the family, are desperately trying to make their life, their polygamy, and their religion look attractive to people. They are seemingly, if this was an objective reality show, then these other elements would at least be touched upon. The fact that their group, according to the former member that I interviewed, believes that black people have been burnt by God because they didn't side with anyone in the pre-existence war between God and Lucifer or something like that. And their black skin is evidence of their lack of faith, essentially, lack of loyalty or dedication to God, and they're forever doomed. And they can never hold the priesthood, which you heard that in the interview. So that view and lots of other views that are, in all likelihood, they and the producers would know that the public would not like that, maybe even turn their back on it. Because, to watch this as a fan, especially if you're not in the AUB, their religious group, you have to like these people on some level, or at least some of them. But if you think all of them are, because even if they disagree with those things, if they're a part of that religious group and portraying it, right, they're representing it, then that's an indictment on them. And this show shows evidence that they're excluding and editing things along those lines. And we just saw that question and answer edited pretty heavily, and we didn't hear Mary. We only heard like half of what he was saying. But I will say that the four of them basically said they would be cool if one of the kids came out as gay. So I should honor that. I should honor that. But I'd be really curious. I'd want to hear more, because it would be very strange if they didn't retain some homophobic ideas or ignorances or something. And you can have parents who consciously believe that they're on board, but they don't exhibit that openness to the kids, and that affects the kids. I don't know. You all probably know, like I said, because as Janelle said, if we go by statistics, she said one or two of the kids is going to be gay, which is probably true, right? So maybe it's happened, and y'all know how they reacted overall. All right, well, let's adjourn there. I want to remind everyone to take care of yourself and take care of others, because we all deserve it. We really, really do.